Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of the Soup of the Day podcast. I've got a really cool guest with us today, a dear friend, a church planter pastoring in Acworth, Georgia, Cheno Echevarria.
you did good.
Did I get it? Did I get it?
You did good.
Okay, all right. Say it for me.
Echevarria.
Echevarria. Echevarria. All right. I meant to say that the first time.
I get it.
Hey, man, thank you for coming today. I'm so excited to spend some time with you, and glad you made it on time. That was awesome. You were running on Cuban time.
I feel like there was something hidden.
You
in that
knew
right
there was something going on right there, man.
I did good. I was here 15 minutes early. You were late.
Were you really? I was in my office talking. So I was working. Thank you for coming today, man. And it's good to see you. And I appreciate that 80s throwback jacket you got on too.
Go, baby. Yeah.
I remember those acid wash jeans and the jacket. Is that a vintage jacket or is that a new version?
Echevarria. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. Wow.
Dude, I got this from Plato's Closet. I have no idea what this
Plato's
is.
Closet.
It just looks amazing.
Okay.
I like it. Yeah.
But, okay, Cheno's a nickname, so your name is actually Ramses.
Exactly.
All right. Are you named after a family member or the Egyptian king?
Yeah, so funny story is my mom was like a witch doctor. A witch doctor is what Americans would understand the word, but it was a person who practiced witchcraft.
Are you kidding or are you making that up?
I'm dead serious. Told my mom, your son, there's something great. There's something that is going to be big inside of him. I need you to find a big name. And so she decided, hey, I'm going to find the biggest name I could find. And Ramses was, at that time, something that she was studying in university. So she went with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to,
but cool.
Well, yeah. So we're going to launch into your testimony. I'm familiar with it. We got a lot of people that are watching that don't know the story.
Yeah.
And you've had an incredible story, Cheno, and God has done amazing things. So you just threw this bomb out there because I didn't know anything about your mom.
Yeah.
But tell us, okay, how did you go from where you started to pastoring a large church there in Acworth?
Yeah, I guess the Reader's Digest version of it. Mom was in Cuba. In a moment, I think there was a lot of political unrest. Early 80s. Actually, it was in 1980. And so she actually burned the Cuban flag, got arrested. And then this time they had a thing called the Mariel boat lift, where they told them, if you want to leave, to all the people who were none of the good people. They took all the people that were in jail, had trouble. They were like, if you want to leave the island, you can. And so it was that or 33 years. And so my mom, pregnant with me, jumped on a raft and came over here. We ended up in Miami, but then they shipped us to New York. She was there for 2 years. I was born in New York, in Brooklyn, New York. It was actually a Haitian family that they helped my mom because it was a different time. You know what I mean? For my mom is whiter than you with green eyes and blonde hair, and so it's a different time to carry a little black baby down the street.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. She's whiter than me?
Whiter than you, sir.
That's impossible, but okay.
Yeah,
all right.
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah. So, So, at that time, it was just a little different. And so she ended up moving back to Miami. We kind of spent some time in Dallas, too, with my uncle, but then we ended up in Miami. And so, from there, it was just a tornado. Age 8 years old, got arrested 2 times, joined a gang, got kicked out of 2 different schools at that age. By the time I was 19 years old, at this point, I had been in jail 13 different times, bullet holes in my body, my neck ripped open. I was completely lost and inundated in the street life. We got in a big gang fight, age 19. And in that moment, remember 21-day arraignment went before the judge and he offered me 90 years as a plea bargain. He said, if you go to trial, then you'll get a life sentence. And in that moment, I remember going back to the dorm, sense of fear, a scared 19-year-old kid, like I'm going to lose the rest of my life. But it also was something different. I think I got to the moment where I was like, I need to change and I don't know how. And I was like, God, if I go to prison for the rest of my life or if I go home, because, the gang member says, I want to testify and I get to go home. I said, I just need to change. I just don't know how. And so I remember that day under some statewide linen sheets crying like a little baby, and then I remember getting out and one of my bunkies were like, hey, they're having a Bible study in the back. And the whole time I was there for 21 days, I was like, I'll never go to that Bible study. Those guys have, weird charges. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to be around those type of guys. Those are the only people in prison that like Jesus or that use God as a crutch. Everybody else has to fight and defend themselves. That day, I remember I went back there, probably 10:30. 11 o'clock at night. And I went back there to that room. It was a TV room, just a plexiglass. So if you can imagine just a big rectangle box, bunk beds on both sides, and in the middle some tables. And then all the way in the back, it was a TV room, had a plexiglass so that you wouldn't disturb people when you watch TV. And we would disturb people because we were Dolphin fans. We're still disturbing people, you know what I mean? Yelling at the TV. And so I remember that that day, man, it wasn't that I heard the gospel. It wasn't that I heard Jesus for the first time. I think it clicked for me. That I was like, yo, I've made mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, I've done some stupid stuff. But you're telling me that God wants me? Like, do you know who I am? Like, you know the mistakes I made. You know the things that I've done? And in that moment, something just clicked. And I had never read the Bible in Matthew. I read the Bible in 21 days one time. I'm telling you, from the beginning to the end, 21 days. I was a juvenile because I wanted to go home. I said, God, if I read this whole Bible from the beginning to the end, 21 days, I didn't come out my room and I read the entire Bible. But I wasn't listening or paying attention to it. I was just reading the words on the page and trying to get through it. But this time I started in Matthew, and it blew me away as I started to understand the story of Jesus. I literally would read a verse and read another verse and write. And I had this legal pad that I had filled with notes. I still have it, that I had filled with notes. Well, 5 months later, I'm teaching in that Bible study. They asked me to share a word in that Bible study. Wow. From there, I started a Spanish one, then an English one. Didn't get 90 years. We were in our Next Steps class, which is growth track membership. And I'm telling the story, and I said the 90 years part, and then I passed it. Keep going. And at the end, the dude tells me, hey, sir, can I ask a question? He said, so you got 90 years? I was like, no, bro. He's like, I thought you escaped or something. You know what I mean? Like, how are you here right now? Man, I ended up getting sentenced to 5 years in prison. Darkest, but the most brightest years of my life. I actually understood the assignment, the call over my life. 19 years old, I'm walking out of Bible studies thinking I want to do this for the rest of my life. I got some of the most dangerous people in the prison confiding in me. I'm leading people to the Lord. I started doing Christian hip hop. I started playing sports really well. So I'm like this in prison, which is hilarious to even say. But there was this pseudo popularity that I carried as the cool Christian kid that raps really good. Whenever they have talent show, he's winning, but he also plays on football in prison. You have 2,000 inmates. You have 32 NFL teams, right? You have positions, coaches. You have, practices. You have everything. You have Super Bowls. You have all-star games. Like, you have a regular season. You go into the dorm after you played and you go back to your dorms and you have your stats on the wall. It's hilarious. But, those guys don't have anything else to do. My quarterback and my wide receiver both ran 4.2s. These guys can touch the top of the backboard playing basketball. Like, it's just wild, the athletes that will never see the light of day again. And those guys are in there. And so, obviously we played sports. And so I played on a really good team, the best team. We went undefeated 2 seasons in a row. I played tight end. And it gave me the opportunity to be able to minister to people in such a way that it was just, I wasn't weird.
Wow.
And so, whatever. Got out of prison, 2004. Met my wife in a small little non-denominational, which means Pentecostal church. And then me and my wife, we thought to ourselves, man, we got to get educated. I want to go to college. Never done that. Got my GED in prison. And we ended up going to Peacemakers Leadership College with Pastor Rich Wilkerson in Miami, Florida. Yeah. And man, we both got our bachelors 2 weeks into being in school. My wife got a job at the church. And then a little while after that, Pastor Rich put me on staff, and we were there for 8 years. Then sometimes I still feel like I'm on staff there because I get called to do certain things on the dime. Always. And grateful, absolutely grateful as dad. And so, we were there for a while, and then we just felt the call over our life. We knew something was up. 19 years old, telling myself, like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I knew that one day I was going to start a church. My initial conversation with Pastor Rich when we first met was he telling me, I want to plant churches. And I'm telling him, that is my goal in life. I didn't even know churches started. I don't know how that works, but I want to do it. And I'm in. And one day we felt the bug. Went up to him and I told him, hey, man, I'll go as fast as you want or as slow as you want. I'll leave today if you want me to leave, or I'll leave in 5 years. But I need you to navigate this call with me. And about 1.5 years later, I was able to relinquish my position, raise some money, and then we moved up to Georgia.
Wow.
And here we are.
Wow.
We've been here for 9 years. The church is 8 years in August.
Okay. So we just unpacked an incredible testimony
Yeah.
in those few minutes. So I have so many questions.
Yeah.
One is, you mentioned your mom. You didn't mention a dad.
Yeah.
Has a dad been a part of your life at all?
At the very beginning, when they came, my dad came first, and my mom came. They were together for a little while, and then my dad split. So yeah, they weren't together.
So Ray's, do you have any siblings? Any brothers or sisters?
So I have one sister. She was in Cuba. Came to the United States. She's living in Maine, which I don't know how Cubans live in Maine. You know what I mean? I don't know how that works. You know, our blood's too thin for that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. Well, and so raised by mom, out on the streets, all this trouble. Did anybody at any time ever try to preach the gospel to you? Did anyone ever try to minister to you?
Dude, no, man. I that I can remember, it just wasn't normal in our. It was, you know, a lot of Hispanics, not being stereotypical, but a lot of Hispanics, they're Catholic, you know, and so we're like. You can be selling drugs, you know, killing people. You're like this mass murderer, and they ask you, you know, what religion? Oh, I'm Catholic. You know what I mean? And you do the whole deal. Like, it just, so there was never talk of religion. One time, a friend of mine invited me to a church. Went to the church. There were two girls that were cute as all get out. My first words that I said to the girl, did a backflip off a swing. Big deal. Did the backflip, landed in front of her, and I told her, do you want to be my girlfriend? First words, and then I never spoke to her after that again. That was the only experience I had with a Christian church. I didn't know the difference. And then there was another one in the neighborhood that they would buy us pizza and let us play basketball inside the gate. They wouldn't allow anybody in the gate until it was open for youth. And I remember going there, no clue what they said. I just went there for the pizza, and then spent my life from the age of 14 to 19 probably in jail. I could probably say half of my life, most of my grades, 6 months, 8 months, then 3 months, then a month, you know, like 13 different times. Those weren't periods where I went to jail and then got right back out. Those were periods that I spent in there 13 different times. Wow. And I remember that, I remember being in there, Don Bizarro. I wish I would have said his name at the beginning, because Don Bizarro would always talk to us about Jesus. He would come in, he would have Bible studies. I had no clue what he was talking about. He would just bring Coke. Remember the big 3-liter Ritz bottles? Yeah. He would bring the Ritz bottles, and then he would bring duplex cookies. And so I just went for the cookies and the sodas, but he used to talk to us about Jesus. Wow. Never, I don't think I really listened. You know what I mean? I was just there, but I did listen, because when I was in this last case that I caught when I was 19 years old, he was there as a chaplain. And I remember telling him, like, hey, I finally understood it. Like, I got it. And he kind of heard me. He was like, yeah, man, that's awesome, man. I'm glad. He didn't remember who I was. And everybody tells him in jail, you know what I mean? Jailhouse religion. But I really caught it. I actually reached out to his family and stuff afterwards. He passed away, but I told his daughter and his niece, and I told them, man, everything that God has done. Like, I bragged. I told them everywhere that I've traveled, the things that I've done. I told them everything. And then I said, I wanted you to hear that, because it was literally your dad that did this in my life. And so it was pretty
incredible.
Cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I want to put a pin in there for just a second and just talk about, when you mentioned that brother, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
That's it.
You're preaching and you feel like it's not landing, or you're ministering to people that you feel like aren't hearing. You never know. Yeah. Because the Holy Spirit's planting seeds during that whole time. Pastor, I want to encourage you. It may not seem like you're making headway, but you never know. Yeah. God's doing something great. And boy, for that gentleman to be able to look at you now and what you're doing in your community, we'll give God the glory. And I'll say this too, only Jesus can take you and put you in a pulpit with that kind of history, because all the statistics are against you.
Literally, absolutely.
I mean, just everything stacked against you. How many young men and women do we have out there with those very similar stories that can say, if it weren't for Jesus, you know, there's no telling where I'd be, and you'd probably still be in prison. So we rejoice at that. What an incredible testimony that God has done an incredible thing.
While I was living it, but it's cool now, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to say that word on the podcast. Can we edit?
John can't say that word. John can't say that word.
Say that word. Buenos noches. I don't even know what that means.
Why would you ruin?
I don't know what that means. It has something to do with nachos.
Talk bad about my mom, dude.
That is not. No, it's not.
God,
bueno means good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The rest of it is bad. You can't say that in Spanish. That's a bad word. You have to edit that. Philip, make sure you go beep when he says that. Goodness gracious, this guy, bro.
Okay.
Get off TikTok, John. Get off TikTok.
All right. I'll speak to you in Arabic instead. Man, what a great first segment. Just talking about unpacking your testimony and what God has done. You mentioned, too, just going through school and talking to Rich Sr. about church planting.
Yeah.
And so I know the story. Again, unpack. Why Atlanta? If you're leaving Miami and coming, why did you guys want to plant there?
Yeah, it was a funny story. We were in a space, I think, where we were, there was a lot of dust. I will say that. There was a lot of dust. Pastor Rich's son had stepped in and started VU Church. And so we were kind of in the process helping with all of that. Just hit it. We were in the process helping with all of that. And then from that, we stayed obviously with Dad at Trinity Church in Miami, working through all of that stuff. I think in that season, there was something inside of me that really wanted to outreach. I wanted to go back into the evangelistic world. Before I had went there, I had traveled a little bit with music and preached. And so I kind of wanted to step back into that world. But I was torn. I had my kids that were at that time 6 and 7 years old. So I was, 6, 7. And so I was looking at them and I was thinking to myself, like, man, I really don't want to be living out the suitcase in these years with them. And so but at the same time, I didn't want to plant a church. I didn't want to be, which is hilarious because here's the 19-year-old kid inside of me that was like, I want to do this forever. But something switched in me where I was like, I don't think I want to. I got an opportunity presented to me that was beyond anything that you can imagine. It was all the finances you need to be able to do the church. You run the church. I'll take care of all the finances. I just want to do something to give back. And so I remember having that opportunity presented to me and thinking to myself, like, yo, this is a cheat code. All the money. Could you imagine right now if you had all the money to be able to plant a church, sustain a church, and not have to worry about it? And this guy had it at that time. God told me no, but it was a bait and switch. It was a moment that it was, well, I didn't want to plant a church, but now I'll plant it if you're giving me all the money. And then God was like, no, you're planting it and I'm not giving you the money. And you're still going to do what I asked you to do.
Wow.
My kids were at the forefront at that moment. And so I did not want to go back to living in Miami. I'll say it this way. We gave blood in Miami and I didn't feel indebted to do anything else. Okay. Me and my wife, I was in 12 different schools. My wife was in 22 schools teaching. I was doing First Priority, a form of kind of FCA. Yeah. And my wife was teaching. We had a federal grant that we were teaching abstinence first of all, but then also, lifestyle, healthy lifestyles. Yeah. And so, all that comes with that. Well, you're talking 9 schools. You're talking 700 cases of HIV. This is what my wife is dealing with. So you're talking about teachers having conversations with students and their sexcapades. I grew up in the school system. If you go to a public school or a private school, there's a very thin line. There's not a lot that separates them. So I thought about my kids and I was like, where can I take them to somewhere where they can get a good education? We can continue to preach the gospel, but I'm focused on my children. I have a relationship with God first. I have a beautiful relationship with my wife. And third is my kids. The church comes after that. And so in that, I thought about my kids and some opportunities presented itself. There were some people who moved up here to Georgia, originally in Woodstock is where we were going to plant the church at. And they told me, and we did some research on the schools. We loved it, loved everything about this city. And that's how we made the decision. So in that, there was a big God moment where we thought Woodstock, 27 days into a fast, right? 7-day fast. I'm going to say this in 30 seconds. Watch this. 7 days, probably not. 7 days into a 7-day fast, 24 hours into this fast, God gave me 3 different words. I walk into the church as a college director for Southeastern University and a youth pastor for VU Youth. And so as I walk into the church, one girl tells me, I had a dream with you. And she tells me you were sitting in a chair, a light hits you, seed falls out of your pocket because you say, I can't be here anymore. You get up, a seed falls out your pocket and immediately begins to grow. I don't know what that means, but God is telling me that whatever you plant is going to grow. So praise God. Thank you. Walk away from there, go into our 5 o'clock staff chapel. When we go, to a team rally. When we go to the team rally, another lady pulls me to the side, said, I have to be obedient. God told me to tell you, don't worry about the finances. He's going to give you the finances. He'll increase your finances. The next day, I'm in my office and I get a call from one of my youth leaders. He tells me I had given him some balloons and I told him, hey, fill these balloons up, put them on a table for the youth table and keep them out in the lobby just to kind of create a decoration. Well, talking to a girl, he begins to literally fill every single balloon up. And in that moment, he was like, I didn't know if you told me 5 or all 50. And so it was a leadership moment. Don't assume, just ask me, call. But he says, can I come to your office? I said, yeah. He comes to my office the next day with a helium tank. I said, why do you have the helium tank? He's like, I know you don't want the helium tank. And I know that you weren't mad about the balloons yesterday. But when I walked away from you, God told me I needed to buy you a helium tank. And I said, what? He says, yeah, I went to Walmart. And he said, Cheno, the moment that I grabbed my helium tank, God told me, and God literally told me, people are not going to build it. Because people will make mistakes like I made mistakes, but God is going to build it. It's not going to be people. You got to put your attention on God. He's going to be the one that builds it. And he handed me that, hit him with the praise God. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like nothing happened. He walks out the room. I'm like doing backflips. Like, God, this is in 24 hours. God has spoken to me, which at the time, the only person that knew what we were thinking through was my pastor. If this would have got out, it gets weird in large churches. You know what I mean? So it wasn't something that we could just share with everybody. But in 24 hours, 3 different words were telling us, you're moving to Georgia. So that wasn't 30 seconds, but whatever.
Well,
yeah.
So for the guy or the gal that's watching right now that's thinking about planting a church.
Yeah.
And because what you're doing, you're kind of laying out that this was a God thing.
Yeah.
It was a God moment.
Yeah.
For the one that's considering doing this, what advice would you give them if they're in the early stages of God stirring their heart? Totally. What would you say to them right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna look, Philip. I'm gonna look right into this camera right here. You ready? I don't know if you can zoom in to my eyes and listen to me. Listen to me. Ready? Don't do it. Best advice I could give you, but I'm just kidding. Really not kidding. There is a segment, a group of people right now, and in the 2013, budding up to that kind of 2020, right before the pandemic, there was a group of people that church planting, it was eye candy. So what they saw was the purple and blue lights. Yeah. They saw, I wanted to say it differently. I saw the blue and the purple lights and in the churches and the LED screens. And what happened was that started to create the Instagram of seeing 3 heads just in a different angle that looked like 30 heads. It started to create this desire in people where friends of mine that I know, you have no business planting a church, decided, hey, I can start this thing. And we are in this media or this information overload society that you can research it used to be a time when you used to read the Bible, and if you didn't understand it, hey, Pastor John, can you talk to me about this? Because I'm trying to figure it out. Now you can ask ChatGPT, give me the Pentecostal version of this. Give me the Baptist version of this. Give me the Presbyterian. Give me the old ancient Septuagint version. What does this mean from there? And you can literally do everything without having this one-on-one conversation. And I think what's happening is that a lot of people are processing these thoughts of this call that God gives them in a vacuum, and they're on their own. And they're making decisions that honestly, man, God didn't call you to do that. God called you to be an incredible father. He called you to be an incredible number 2 man, an operations director. You will rock it as a kids person. You would write curriculum. You will change the game. You will have conferences leading children. But then there's some calls that are different. There is Jonah. You're going to Nineveh. You can go in a Uber, a whale. You can go in a Lyft, buddy. You can jump on John's back. You're going to Nineveh. And I think you don't have to fight that. Actually, you run from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think when I talk to people, the more that I can hear them running from the call, the more that I know, oh yeah, this is for you. And I think we have to be safe in our skin to know I don't need to be pressured into something. I don't need to be told this is the next, as an urban kid from the streets of Miami, the progression of every single young person, 25 and under, when they give their life to the Lord, you have to become either a youth pastor or you have to become a rapper, a Christian rapper. You have to be Lecrae. And it's like, what would it look like if I was managing the rappers? What if I was just an event promoter? What if God just called me to have an incredible landscaping company where I could witness to employees and bring people out of prison and give them jobs that nobody else gives them? I think we've shut down because it's so appealing. It's eye candy. Yeah. It's so appealing to do what we think is pastoring is at the top of the list. And you don't understand. I can't do my job. There's no way that I can do my job without the individuals that I have under me. I have people that are secure in the places that they are, that if they weren't there, I would suck. because I have strengths. I have strengths. I feel like I have strengths. But man, I have glaring weaknesses. I have holes in my life. There's things that I cannot do. I have people that step into those holes, and it feels like Voltron or Power Rangers for some of the other key people. You know what I mean? It's like it just matches. And church planting isn't about you and your personality and what you saw on Instagram or TikTok. It's about gathering.
But Cheno, I'm mad at my pastor, so therefore God must be calling me to go plant a church. I'm mad at him. I'm mad at the board. I'm sorry. I
like it.
Well, but here's the thing: is that there's a reason 80% of church plants fail. 80%. That's the thing we don't talk about a lot. 80% of new church plants fail. That means there's a 20% success rate. So is it because God didn't call them, or is it because maybe something else occurred, or all these other contributing circumstances? I would say that church planting is not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart. But what you just said, you got to know that you're called to it. You're called to Nineveh. You are called to Nineveh, and it is going to be a very difficult process. It is not easy.
Nah.
But it also, the payoff though, if you are called to it.
Oh my gosh, so fulfilling, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything
So
else.
tell us what's going on with Greater Church now.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing anything else but this here.
And what year did you plant?
2016.
Okay, 4 years before the pandemic.
4 years before 2017. We moved here in 2016.
Okay, 2017.
So
launch.
2017. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I think they're just to kind of just bridge that conversation. You're upset with your pastor and you think that you have a better way. I would say this so that you can properly know if church planting is something that God has put inside of you. Number one, I think you in the multitude of counsel there is wisdom, right?
Yep.
And so there is these conversations that you can have. When I'm at my best, what do you see? What do you think? What gifts do I possess that that I don't even see in myself? I think having people in your life to do that. But man, I think it was Chris Hodges that he coined this phrase: for you to discover your destiny, you have to understand your design. And I don't think we're equipping church planters to really deal with them. I think we're giving them the tools to go raise money. We're giving them the tools to lead a team. But bro, you haven't dealt with the fact that since you were 13 years old, you haven't been able to shake pornography. And you've been dealing with this stuff on and off for a while.
Yeah.
And so now you think that church planting and having a call on your life is going to intensify the strength inside of you, and it's going to diminish the flesh in you. And what you don't understand is that the target just becomes that much bigger.
Yes.
The weight, the weariness, the fact that you're carrying something and that you're carrying other people's lives. And you used to be able to say, I quit and I'm just going to stay home. But you can't now because you're carrying other people that they're literally relying on you.
Yes.
It changes the game. And so I think that having a therapist is not horrible in your life. I think working through soul care, working through your identity issues, through some of your past hurts, healing some wounds, you need to forgive your pastor. You need to have a conversation and tell him, I hate you. Like, I really don't like.
Wait! Don't have that conversation that I hate.
But
I
think telling them.
How about I've got some issues we need to talk about.
Yeah. So I thought about stabbing you last week, but I did it because here's the truth. Here's the truth. I'm carrying stuff in my heart that I need you, number one, to be aware of it.
Yeah.
But as my pastor, I need you to not just understand it, but I need you to help me to heal from this.
Yeah.
God called you in my life. And that's the other part. I don't think we really have any more spiritual fathers.
Okay. Can I get on my soapbox on that for a minute?
Come on.
Not every attempt to hold you accountable is abuse. Did I say that out loud? I think I did.
Accountability is not abuse.
Yeah. Well, not every attempt. And so when we carry, I've seen this happen so much in ministry, is I've got a young leader or a leader, and they don't have to be young, but they're carrying this deep wound from ministry or something along those lines. And when they begin to unpack it to me, and it's not that I'm trying to minimize in any way. Wounds are wounds. Feelings are feelings. You can't control them, okay? Wounds are wounds. But sometimes it's like, well, I don't know that they were trying to wound you as much as they were possibly trying to either hold you accountable, get you to do better, get you, and so maybe you took it that way. I don't know that that was their intention. But if let's assume that it was. You forgive, you release that, and you move on. You know, if I held to my heart all the horrible things that have been said to me over the last 34 years of full-time vocational ministry, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
You know, you get told all kinds of things. You can't live in that wound. Jesus will carry our wounds for us. He heals our broken hearts. And so don't live there. Don't build a house or a monument to that.
Yeah.
And there are times when my pastor, growing up, like, you know, early in ministry, they were pretty harsh and pretty hard. Now, it was a different school of leadership.
Yeah.
You know, they were very direct. It was the post-Depression era, post-World War II generation, you know, the early boomers that were very harsh and very direct. And sometimes those things hurt. Okay. But it wasn't their intention. Their intention was for me to do better.
Absolutely.
Do better. Change this about you. And so what we have now is sometimes we want to go do a new work when really we just haven't dealt with the stuff in our heart.
We got to do the work in ourselves.
Exactly.
That was my whole point. It's just you got to look inside before you start thinking about outside.
Yeah.
But what if I told you, John, you're not a real Christian? What if I said you're a protege, you're working under me, and I'm helping you, I'm discipling you, and I'm training you, and in the middle of a conversation that you ask me a question, and I'm like, you're not even a real Christian. Mm. Like, what if I just offended you like that? Like, you're fake. You're of the world.
Well, that hurts.
It
man.
would be offended. And so think about Jesus. Do you still not have faith? How long do I have to deal with you? Like, some of these people would hear stuff that Jesus said to the disciples right now, and they'd be like,
we sugarcoat it. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I feel so hurt. It's leadership. God bless you.
You know, I had a guy the other day from, he's not even in the Georgia district, but he was talking to me about the job of superintendent, whatever. And he said, you know, I just want somebody to show me some respect.
Yeah.
And at first I'm like, oh, okay. But then it hit me. Wait a minute. You know what? I can't find anywhere in the New Testament where Jesus demanded respect.
No.
He didn't demand respect.
No.
Okay. You know what? They didn't show you some respect. All right.
Yeah.
You know, it's them. It's not me.
Yeah.
You know, I think we do get caught up in a lot of that stuff, and we allow our flesh to rule the day. And it's a battle, and I'm certainly far from perfect. I still have to, you know, the carnal side of me wants to rear its ugly head.
Absolutely.
And so we got to keep, when Paul says, I die daily, we got to keep putting that flesh to death and allow Jesus to emerge in our spirits. And the older I get, the more I kind of understand those statements that Jesus made and statements that Paul made. You know, Absolutely. Paul says, listen, I'm writing you a letter now so that when I'm with you, I don't have to tell you off. You know, it's like, okay, well, you know, I kind of understand that now.
Absolutely.
And so here you are, you're church planting and Greater Church. Man, you guys are growing leaps and bounds. You planted in 2017. COVID hit. What was that like?
It was terrifying. I think it was, it shook the fruit. All the spoiled fruit. That's what I like to say. It took all the rotten apples off the tree. And I don't mean people. I mean, even in my life, one of the things that, even going back to what I was saying about understanding your design so that you can understand your destiny, I think even in my life, like, there was a lot of anger. There was a lot of aggression that I carried. I had this bravado about me where it was like, I'm going to make it no matter what. I don't care. And it was all of these things. And what God showed me, especially during the pandemic where I had time to slow down, is why do you say those things? Why do you think those things? And it wasn't the anger, the bravado. It wasn't this aggressive nature. It was fear. I'm sitting there, as most of us pastors did, with COVID at the house, watching the team take care of us Sunday morning while we're on our phones looking at the service. Yeah. And I remember there was a cable on the ground and they said the wrong transitional words and things that we don't ever use. They're newcomers. We never said that before. And so I remember writing in these big black bold letters, we need to have a meeting. Nobody cares about this church the way that I do. And I remember saying, I got to talk to this person. They got to get off team if they're not going to continue if they're not going to follow suit, they got to get off. And I started to carry this anger that I paused for a second. I remember clear as day, I sat on my bed and I said, God, why am I angry? And God said, you're not angry. You're afraid. And I said, why am I afraid? And he said, you think that somebody's going to see a cable on the ground on a live stream, or they're going to hear the wrong transitional phrase and they're going to say, I'll never go to that church. And what a lie from the enemy. But this is stuff that I had to mine out in my own heart, because I didn't have time when
that
the pace of before the whole COVID thing, you're going and you're ripping and you're running and you're like trying to keep up with the Joneses and you're trying to do all of this stuff. And I got a vision. I don't know anything else but vision. I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to build. But then it was like, I can't build nothing. Nobody even wants to come to church. In fact, it's inappropriate for me to try to build because people will then say, oh, but you don't care about people's lives. And so I had to pull back. But then now I got self-awareness. Now I'm looking at myself and I'm smelling myself and I'm looking like, oh my gosh. And as I started to go through that process, and it's a book by Rob Reimer called Soul Care that literally just helped me to unpack a lot of those things in my life where I was able to have self-awareness. Oh, that's why I do that. Oh, that's why the things that my mom spoke consistently over me were the things that shaped me. And I didn't know that. So I had to reroute some stuff and reframe it and really put it in context with God's word. But that's work that we do at this point, 4 years into a church plant. What would have happened if I would have did that, if it was part of my church assessment? What if I would have did that before I church planted? What if I would have went through this process and been healthier before I ever took the handle? It changes the game. It changes the game. It does.
Man, we've had a lot of fun. This has been a lot of fun. I'm probably going to get in trouble for a few of the things that have been said and done on the first two segments, but it's okay.
They have to send an email to jmoon.
Yes. If you are upset with anything on this podcast, I want you to send me an email to jack@gaddistag.org and tell him all about how unhappy you are. Tell me about how unhappy you are about everything that's been going on here. But something you touched on in the last subject, the last segment about being self-aware, that you during COVID, you kind of really leaned into a little bit of that. You were so busy growing and building the church, you didn't really take care of these issues early on. But I want to touch back on that. How important has it been for you to really lean into Cheno and to really become self-aware on some of those issues?
Yeah, I think it was a game changer. I think at its purest root, I think it helped me to see God in a correct fashion. I think when we are little, I always say this analogy. My mom told me she was going to take me to Chuck E. Cheese, came home, told me, sorry, we can't go. I get upset. Please, Mom, you have to. Bargaining. I can't next week. Next week she comes and it's like, hey, are we going? No, we're not going to go. I'm sorry. I don't have the money. No, I don't. Just take me. I just want to walk. I don't even need to play the games. I just walk around. I just want to see people playing. No, we're not doing that. Third time comes around. I'm going to take you. Maybe, maybe not. She comes back and she tells me, no, I'm not taking you. At that moment, what I did is that I created this wall. And I said, I don't want to feel this regret or this abandonment. I don't want to feel this rejection. And so I build the wall. And that wall, literally, all it does is just keeps getting taller and taller and thicker and thicker as life goes on, because I don't want to feel this pain. And so I think in church life, we don't talk enough about it, but we just kind of hide stuff. We pray stuff away. And it's like, no, you got to process through that.
If you pray more.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. If you just pray more, put it under the blood of Jesus.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we do.
And that's true to an extent, but you've got to unpack it.
And if you don't, here's what happens. What I started to notice was that even my prayer, right, to pray more, my prayers were literally under the filters of those things. So now I'm coming to God as if God is looking at me, and I'm not a fully loved believer of Jesus. I'm not a fully loved son. I'm thinking now he has to judge me. I'm waiting for something. So God, while I'm sorry, I messed up again. I know that you don't want to hear from me, and I apologize. My prayer literally has been tainted because of my past experiences.
Wow.
As I've broken, and I'm not perfect, man. One day past the life sentence, the day that we let go of our last breath, we'll be fully perfect at that day. But in the process, we're learning, we're growing. And in that though, what I've learned is that I'm trying to mine stuff out that I approach God with. God is this entity that loves me. He can't do nothing but love. He is love, right? And so he's like the friend that you have a friend and you're always texting with, and you send memes to, and you send Instagram private videos that if they seen them, we both lose our jobs, and we send all these videos and stuff. But then if something happens, there's an issue in the relationship, there's an awkwardness. It's like, well, I'm not sending you anything today. I'm mad, or you didn't answer me, or you didn't respond. I'm not sending it to you. But then there's a reconciliation. There's a conversation that happens afterwards. Like, yo, my bad. It's whatever. Papa. And then I get another video. I'm like, I feel joy because I'm going to send this video to them. That feeling of the joy of the reconciliation, God only lives there. He doesn't know how to live in this place where he looks at you and says, I hate you. I'm mad at you. He can't, because I would never look at my children like that. I know that they're kids. I'm like, yo, from beginning to end, I love you. There's nothing you could do. Do I get upset at you? I probably do. But I will never stop. Even when you mess up so bad, my kids, even when they mess up so bad, I punish them. Go to your room. You don't have no phone, everything. But then on the other side of it, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't punish them. Yeah. Maybe I should let them out. Maybe I should watch them. And imagine that is a pale comparison of who God is, who lives in that love. And so when we fully understand God's love for us and that, I'm not my mistakes. And I know we preach that so easily, but Pastor, we live in that space. I didn't read my Bible enough. I didn't pray enough. I should have called this person. That happened because of me. I should have been at the hospital. I should have done this. And we carry the weight of all these people.
All that self-continuing language.
We're striking all these things that constantly we're carrying, that if we don't ever unpack these things, and I will say it like this, just to answer your question. We live very devotional lives. We read our Bible. We pray. We worship. There is a season of intimacy where I think as pastors in my life, this is what God's doing in my life. I think I'm shifting from just praying, reading, and worshiping. I do that consistently. That is my life. But I don't do that for God's approval. I do that from God's approval. I don't do it for his love. I do it from his love. I do this because I want to get to know him, not because I need him to do something for me. But then there's this other side of it, man, where it's fasting, not on January 1st or the 21 days or in August. It's weekly fasting. It's just sacrificing, but watching. Spending through the night. Remember the watch nights?
Yes.
I feel like we've gotten so far away from those. And some of the pastors on here probably still doing it. But when's the last time you personally did it? Where it's 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm in my living room and I'm crying out. God is showing me things that I've never seen. Yeah. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock. And it's just, and then retreats. We started a ministry, because we knew that this, after the pandemic, this was one of the biggest things that pastors were struggling with, was just getting away, turning your phone off and spending 3 days in the mountain with God.
Boy, that's hard.
And we ended up raising money. We got an RV. Any pastor that's listening here, John, they could reach out to you and they can let us know and we'll set them up, Red Top Mountain. And they spend 3 days. And I can't tell you the amount of pastors that have come back and said, I can't tell you the amount of words, the intimacy that I had with Jesus, because I put my phone away. I put the calendar away. I stopped thinking church and I just spent time with my Father.
Wow.
And it's just in this unadulterated 3 days of just spending time with him. We are a product of an individual that said, I need something from God, but for me to get it, I need to spend time with him. And for 10 days straight, they were praying to the point that their porch in the Bonnie Bray house collapsed, where they had to go to Azusa Street, and it's 6 million people. Hot Springs, I mean, you can chase it all the way up.
Yeah.
But if you bring it all the way down, there was a desperation in somebody's life that said, I have to separate myself for a minute. And I have to be alone with God for an extended time. And we don't do that, man. The pace of life right now.
We don't.
And COVID slowed it down a little bit. But I think we were trying to figure out, how do we get busy? How do we get busy? We got busy trying to get busy instead of just.
Oh, yeah. You're spot on. And I think that intimacy comes out of, well, let me say this. One thing I feel like that we do well in ministry is we do well in ministry activities.
That's good.
We do, we have events and we have services and we have all these other things. When I feel that Jesus really wants us to spend intimate time with him and commune with him, because it's about Jesus. We do ministry because we love people and we want them to know the Jesus that we know. But what about when you talk about, we do our prayer time, we do all our other devotion time out of who we are, not because we want something from him. Yeah. But what about communing with him and just knowing Jesus and talking about Jesus and spending time with Jesus in prayer and in, like you said, in fasting and in these dedicated moments when we're busy doing, and we're terrible at this in the Pentecostal church because we feel like we've got to do a lot of things in order to please God, which we please God with our lives, but it's not how much we do. We please God with our lives by who we are and what we love. And it's about Jesus. And I think if we could ever get back to that, about that true intimate knowing of Jesus and being more like him and knowing his heart and knowing his mind, those things, a lot of our ministry problems will solve themselves. You know, I feel that way. Yeah. That some of the mountains that we're trying to get around and some of the speed bumps that we're having to experience and the barriers and the blockades and all that other stuff, sometimes it's just, man, it's just, we made a mountain out of a molehill because we're not spending enough time with Jesus.
Stop. I'll say this. There's two sides. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. There's pastors who are literally on this video right now, if you made it this far, because what they did was that they were like, I do spend time with Jesus. I do pray. I do read my Bible. I do fast. I do have my own watch nights. I do retreat. I spent once a month with Jesus, and I have all of these things. But there's an administrative side to this as well. There's a side that is not the world, that is not a worldly thing. You know what I mean? To actually run a well-ran business.
Yes.
And a well-ran church. The problem is, and I'm grateful for the generation that came before me, the generation that had one house and they had one car and they worked all their life at one job and they were consistent. And then our generation, mine's, I'm a Gen X, anything you can do, I could do better. And so now when you had one, I have two, you know what I mean? And then you keep going down the list and it just deteriorates more and more and more. But at the end of the day, I think that there is one side of this coin that is, I need intimacy with God and I need to be in love with him because of who he is, not because of what he's done for me. But I also have to have this other side of me that is, I'm going to break 2 fishes and 5 loaves and I'm going to feed 25,000 people. The miracle, the spiritual side of it. But I'm also going to sit you in groups of 50 and 100. And that's annoying. That's hard. That's incredibly tedious, but it has to happen for both of them to function, the systematic and the spiritual. Mm-hmm. But what we're talking about is the pastor right now that you are too systematic and you need a break. Yeah. You don't need a vacation to go on another cruise. You don't need another fill in the blank. I think there needs to be a time of retreat where just like, yo, if you can't get out, just go to a hotel for 3 days. It's a Monday check-in at 4 p.m. It's all day Tuesday. It's check out Wednesday at 10 a.m. But it's those 3 days just by yourself, you and Jesus and your Bible. Yeah. It will change the system to a way that what you just mentioned, all of a sudden things start clicking. Well, God wasn't going to give you.
But I don't know about you, but it's easier for me to build a system than it is for me to have Jesus look at my heart.
Oh, yeah.
You know, especially if you're a mechanical thinker, and you just mentioned Gen X. I'm Gen X to the core, man. Yeah. Listen, we're going to get this done. We're going to get it done.
Absolutely.
We're going to punch the devil in his throat, and we're going to have a system in order to do it. Yeah. That's great. You have to have those things.
Huge.
So it's not either or. It's both things. You got to have those. But to me, those things are easier than it is to spend 3 days in a hotel having Jesus look at the deepest areas of your life and your soul and begin to speak to you on those things. Because that's hard. Wait a minute. You're going to uncover what happened to me as a child, one of the horrible things that my parents said to me growing up that I've allowed to put in my heart. They're in my heart, but they've got calluses over them, so nobody can see them. Okay? But I carry those wounds very deeply. And what you mentioned earlier about how you filter everything through that.
Oh, yeah.
You filter everything through your wounds. You filter everything through it, man. I got news for you. Not everybody's out to get you. No. But if you've been hurt, everybody's out to get you.
Man, I'm processing in one of my soul care trips is what I call it. And I'm processing and I'm going through unforgiveness. And just like you said, it's like the mahara, which is the sword of the spirit, which is a small knife. It's used for surgery. Me, if I had to do surgery, I'd cut myself a little bit. God just goes,
yes.
He's like, I have to make you well. Bro, I'm in the middle of forgiveness and I'm trying to like process through some stuff and I'm like crying before the Lord. And I'm in an Airbnb up in LJ. And all of a sudden, and I look, but when I look in the porch, it's a black bear. I run to the kitchen and I grab a butter knife. I literally have a picture of me with a butter knife at the window, standing there, looking as big as
you stopped to take a picture of you with a black bear on the porch?
Yes. I'm holding the knife just to show myself if I die. Here's the deal. He would have came in. One of us was going to get hurt and one of us was going to die. Who it was, I don't know, but I'm stabbing him a couple of times.
Man, you're pretty tough.
In the middle of like crying out to God, like, I'm sorry.
So what you're saying is the bear might win, but he's not going to be happy about it.
He's not going to be happy about it.
All right.
He's not going to be happy about it.
That's funny.
But yeah, I think we need those spaces, man. If we can slow down. I asked God, why can't I hear you? And God responded to me, shut up. Now, I don't know if it was my own thinking or if it was just me. I don't know if it was the audible voice of God or me making it up or the peanut butter sandwich I had in the afternoon. But I heard God say, shut up. But I also heard God. I'm standing on Azusa Street and I'm looking at the building and I'm looking inside the window. Obviously, it's been changed 35 different times. Yeah. But I'm looking inside the window and I say, God, why can't this happen now? Like right now. And God said this word to me. He said, uninterrupted. That's all he said. And that word, I know that one was God. And from that moment, I've been just trying to find these uninterrupted moments to spend with Jesus. So where am I at right now at the church? Man, God has been beautiful to us. I mean, the church has grown. Last year, we gave 100,000 pounds of food, 13,000 people we've served with partnerships with Walmart. We are now over almost 150,000. We just gave 300 turkeys and 300. We get tons of gifts right now that we have from, what's that place called? Toys for Tots, that we're about to wrap and give to kids. All of that stuff is great. But I've noticed in the past, all of those things came at the cost of my 5 a.m.s.
Ooh.
All of those things came at the cost of my just going to bed without having 35 notes on my phone or figuring out the next sermon, the next staff meeting talk, the next conversation that I have, the next podcast, just to be able to stop and now have a rhythm of it. Where it's like, oh, I gotta fight for the spiritual side.
Wow.
The system, it'll come.
Yeah.
I'm easy. That's easy for me. But the spiritual side,
yeah.
You right now, John, on the other side of this wall, they told you there's a fire out there. People are burning. They're in hell. I'm gonna give you a water pistol. You're gonna go out there. It's gonna burn. It's gonna hurt a little bit, but you're gonna go outside of these walls and you're gonna grab one person and bring them back in here. Philip's gonna take care of them. You're gonna start grabbing them and you're gonna start bringing them in here. It's going to hurt. It's going to burn, but get them out of hell and bring them in here. You would literally do that. That's so much easier than getting up at 5 a.m. and praying.
Of course it is.
Give me the fire. Let me kill the devil.
Let me fight the bear with a butter knife. Yeah. Yeah.
I got to show you that picture.
Yeah.
But true story. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But the payoff, because you just mentioned about all the things you got going on. You were just elected to the Planning and Zoning Commission, right?
Yeah. So I'm actually on next Thursday. We do another ceremony for our re-election, and so I'm up for re-election now.
So
and,
you've got incredible inroads in the community. God's opening doors. It's not about what you're doing. No. It's about who you're becoming.
Yes, sir.
And in those 5 a.m. prayer times and and allowing God to really search your heart and to get the old Cheno out of the way and allowing Jesus in there. That's what you're saying, because you got an incredible amount of success. For us sitting on the outside looking at what Greater Church is doing, we're like, man, that guy is blowing and going. I'm telling you, he is rocking it over there. Yeah. What you're saying is, I'm not rocking.
No.
Jesus is doing it all.
Look at my background.
Yeah.
Like I don't have felony. I have felonies. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I should be nowhere near any of these things.
But Jesus.
But Jesus, man.
Jesus.
Like, come on, right? If it wasn't for him, I'd be an idiot. I'm still an idiot, but I'm just a saved idiot. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's different, man. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Pastor, I hope you've enjoyed this time with Cheno. And we're going to put up some contact information for him as well. You ever want to reach out to him, I know he'll make time for you just to talk, to
serve as an elder.
You. Yep. Yeah, and he's an incredible resource for you as you seek to make those inroads in your community. I've had a lot of fun with you, man. And I know we're colleagues, but we're also friends. And it is fun to be around you and just rejoice in everything that God's doing in you, but also what he's doing through you there. And God is going to continue to do incredible work there. We'll catch you in the next episode. You guys have a great day.